Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Confidence in Crisis webinar. If you can, please mute your phone to help out with the audio here. That way we can deliver our message in a very clear, concise way, right, Mr. Watson?
That's absolutely correct.
So we've got an action-packed agenda tonight. We've got Dave Mazzetti from Poughkeepsie, New York, who's going to be on and talking about something crazy he's doing right now, which is bringing on an experienced advisor recruit. We've got our main speaker here, who's been on every one, Mr. Drew Watson. He give us an update on his marketing, the market, some things he's doing around gifts. And then we're going to bring on Scott Leibfried, who's going to discuss some ways to manage some stress that's going on right now in our decision-making process, and some things around client communications. And then John Randall, who's been on every one of these, is going to talk about more ways to increase your performance and avoid burnout. So we've got an action-packed agenda here. And so what I'm going to do first and foremost is call on Dave Mazzetti. Dave, you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend. What's going on in Poughkeepsie, New York? I hear you guys got some activity going with new client acquisition because of a recruit who came over. What are you guys doing during this pandemic?
We're smiling and dialing like madmen. It's awesome. So I have Armando with me, who's the newest addition to our team. And Armando, I've been trying to get him to join us for about 2 years. And we finally got him to give us the okay right at the beginning of this pandemic. So here we are. You know, why make anything easy? That's my opinion, you know.
So let's talk a little bit about the 2-year dating period that you had as it relates to him coming over. What was that like?
Well, like some of you may remember from our last D2 event, I recruited Max through CrossFit. Basically, I did the same thing with Armando. We had the same goals and objectives for health. So he started working out with us with our gym here with our trainer, and we just kind of built a bond. As we kept continuing to talk, he was one of the ones who said to me originally, you know, there's no way I'm ever going to join, but, you know, I like hanging out with you guys, and this is great. Basically, we had a heart-to-heart about 3 months ago for about a 3-hour meeting, and we talked about the products he was delivering, and he could talk a little bit about his you know, coming to the decision to come over. But he realized that as a CFP, he wasn't really offering his clients the best options that he had. We talked about costs associated with the products he was offering, and I literally saw the light bulb go off over his head, and he said right then and there, he's a quick start, by the way. He said right then and there, let's go.
Very nice. Well, Armando, glad to have you on here with Dave. I've seen great workout photos of you and Dave together, along with other Dave's team members. So I know you're in good shape because I've seen that. So Armando, so it sounds like 3 months ago, the light bulb, went off for you.
His coach I'm working with. And
hello?
Kentucky.
Okay, if you can mute your line, that would be great. So Armando, tell us a little bit about why you jumped on board with Dave.
Okay. I've been in the industry almost 11 years now. I started when I was 26 years old, so I was young. I just moved here from Virginia. And I started with an insurance company, and they put me into the schools, and that's where I began building, my practice. And at that point, it was very transactional. I was simply just trying to survive and put food on the table and pay the mortgage. But as the years, went by and I got better at what I did and understood the industry and just learned more, I started finding myself not wanting to be as transactional. I had in my office, there weren't very many CFPs. We had about 30 people, and maybe just like 2 or 3 people were CFPs. So it's not like I got to associate or spend a lot of time with them. I met Dave, I think it was actually more than 2 years ago. I think it might have even been 3 years ago. In our industry, headhunters reach out often and try to recruit, and you never really thought about it, but I decided to take a meeting and with Ameriprise, and I met a recruiter, which was okay. No offense to the recruiter, it didn't impress me, but he said, there is a local advisor that I want you to meet, and he's been in the business a long time. He's been with Ameriprise for a while. He is, what we consider, a top advisor. I think it would be good for you guys to meet. And so I took the meeting, and Dave and I connected very quickly, even though I wasn't ready to make any type of transition right away. I could just tell the operation that he ran here it was a really good one. It was a good culture. Just Dave's a down to earth guy, very humble. It was just nice. It was refreshing. And then of course the working out started as well. Because, when you have a full gym in your office, that does lure me in a little bit. But then what happened last year was I did start the process of becoming a CFP, and it was actually somebody in this office who I will not say.
You can say.
Oh, okay. So another advisor here, Carrie, I told her that I was going to finish the CFP in under a year, and she looked at me and kind of rolled her eyes and said, "There's no way that's happening." So I took it very personal, and I completed my CFP in 6 months and 2 weeks. So
wow.
And he kept me informed all the way too.
Yeah.
Just so I could keep telling Carrie what he was doing.
But during that process, what I didn't realize is going through the process of becoming a CFP, it was a lot more than just the education I learned. It really transformed just how I viewed this industry, how I viewed myself as an advisor. I really ingrained in me what it really was to be a fiduciary. And I started to realize that working for an insurance company, there was a lot of conflicts of interest there, and it was hard to be a genuine fiduciary and make these recommendations when your employer has proprietary products that they strongly, quote unquote, encourage you to incorporate into your client's lives. And so then, Dave and I had that heart to heart, after I became a CFP, and we sat down and he showed me, because I love working with educators. I'm very passionate about that. There's very few people in the state of New York, I can confidently say, that know more about what happens in school systems than I do. It's been over a decade in them. So he showed me the platforms that were available, and it just clicked, because I realized that I can do the work that I love to do, and I could work with the people that I want to work with, but I found a place that I could do it better. And I said, why even wait? Like, let's do this. Let's make this happen.
Well, it sounds like a couple things came all together for you, Armando. I mean, you met Dave, and look, he's hard not to like, right, Drew? I mean, Dave's a likable guy.
Unless you're a fan of any other team in the AFC East.
Well, that's true too. we won't hold it against him. He's a Jets fan.
Yeah.
And then Armando, professionally speaking, you went after your CFP, and that was a huge eye opener.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on that. And then the light bulb went off on some things you can do. Well, I think it's great. Tell us now what's going on, because I know that Dave and I, over the last couple of weeks, we're talking about your onboarding in the midst of this, pandemic and all the shutdowns that are going on. But you guys pulled the trigger on Friday. Tell us, what's that been like in a virtual world, bringing your clients over to Ameriprise, Armando?
Oh, go ahead.
So I feel like you could make a movie of my last 4 or 5 days. And, So I resigned at 10 o'clock Friday morning. By about 11:30, my accounts had been reassigned, and thus began the marathon that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and today up until about an hour ago, just pounding the phone calls. I mean, I haven't worked this hard in a long time.
And can I interject here? We did something a little different. We didn't use the support transition team because the last time I did this, we ran into a lot of problems with Max, and I really believe that our team here can handle it better. So we set up a system where Armando would call his clients up and go through the script that the attorneys told us to use. He would then get the buy-in question. He would then say to them, I don't have any of your information. I'm going to pass you off to Scott or Tyler. And Scott and Tyler then had this script where they introduced the practice to the clients. They brought them to the website. They got the rest of their information, and they said, we're going to send you a link to sign up online with Ameriprise. After they got off with the client, they then put their information in, made them a client right then and there, sent the link, and now Armando's clients, we already have 250 that are already clients, and they're already on the website. What Scott and Tyler are doing also is they're setting appointments for Armando on the half hour beginning on Friday, where he will now go and do webinars with these clients. We have our team prepared to set up the cars so that as soon as the webinar is over, the car goes out, the client e-signs, and we get the assets moving.
Wow.
It
sounds like process-wise, you guys got this down. Go ahead, Armando.
We had it was great because I understand the industry, but here I am coming to a new firm where there's still a lot of technology that I have to learn, and at the end of the day, Dave and the team made it easy. Look, just make the phone call, get them to buy in that they want to continue to work with you, hand them off, and we will get them in the system. We will get them on the calendar. We will get them on the WebEx. And so, it's been amazing because, I've got like 160, 170 appointments that are about to happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
I love it. Well, I was so excited over the weekend. Of course, I talked to you, Dave, on Friday night, and I was getting pictures of you guys, just you on the phones, and I guess the other team members that were, processing. So really exciting time for you guys. Well, and I wanted to bring you guys on, one, just to celebrate you, Armando, for your achievement and coming over and making that decision, aligning with Dave. But I want to let everybody know, the D2 community, business as usual, people. We're still growing. I was talking to another practice today that extended an offer, and that looks good. I mean, recruiting hasn't stopped. And I think the more we approach business as usual, maybe doing it a different way, as we're learning, you guys adapted to it, you're making it happen. So kudos to you guys. This is a huge inspiration for all of us to see what you're doing in the midst of this pandemic. So thank you guys.
Travis, can I say something just real quick? This is Armando.
Sure.
So one thing is, because of the current situation, 2 things. One, it's been a stress test as far as the clients, because if the clients are willing to come with you during this chaos, that relationship is cemented for life, So it's interesting to see, if you do good work and you add value to people's lives, that through thick and thin, they're coming with you. I mean, there are people that have, I have clients that spouses are dealing with coronavirus right now as we speak. They're running back and forth, to deal with that situation, and still willing to do what needs to be done to transition, which is just unbelievable. But also, everybody's home. So as crazy as this is, when I can't normally get a hold of people during the day, they're all home and ready to talk because they're done talking to their kids all day. They want to talk to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Great insights, Armando. Great job, guys. Keep us posted. Good luck on the rest of your calls and all those WebExes that you're going to have over the next couple of weeks, Armando. I can't wait to hear about the success of all the clients coming over. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Drew, what do you think about that before we start talking about?
Well, the timing is great because people are at home. The only thing better to get people at home is if you were niche marketing to Jets fans the Sunday after the season's over, they're all going to be at home too.
Oh, man. All right. That's enough of the Jets jokes. So let's talk, Drew. First thing I want to talk about, and I believe all advisors are very aware of what's going on with the CARES Act and the PPP. But let's talk about that just a little bit on a practice level on what we're recommending people to do.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions about this. I think it's pretty straightforward. We've discussed it. Yeah, and look, the federal government is encouraging each small business to take advantage of this. And so we view it really as an opportunity for, to kind of help all those people that we employ. The government's wanting it done because what we know as financial advisors is, if the economy grinds to a total halt, things will be even worse than they are now.
Right.
And we should view ourselves as blessed. As Armando was saying, we're able to work during this time, and a lot of people aren't. And we should take advantage of what's been, afforded us. Now, with that said, Ameriprise just sent an email out literally, by the time you walked downstairs and got
Moments
me.
ago.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, what Dave and them were talking. That synthesizes a lot of the information. It's advisory use only right now, but a lot of the information is key. The long and short of it is, if you've kept good books and records, the application is pretty easy. It's a front and back form. They want to look at your payroll. It's limited to $100,000 per person. Also, they'll want to look at your Schedule C business. That's what the Ameriprise comp dumps into. So if you are paying anybody 1099 through like employee share, any of that, your Schedule C business can also qualify for this. For the incorporated businesses, you can start Friday signing up. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, the second or third.
That's today's Wednesday. I'm sorry, folks. This all working in different hours got me all. That's right, Friday, which is 2 days from now.
Yeah, start Friday. Basically, if you have all your ducks in a row, they will loan you up to about 2.5 months of payroll. So, that money can be spent on payroll, and within payroll, it's what you're paying. It's if you're paying for health insurance and retirement benefits.
Right.
So be sure to add all that together. And then, the stipulation is if you spend all that over the 2 months from the time you, apply for the loan on either payroll, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, and your head count at your business doesn't change, it's pretty much a forgivable grant at that point. So that's the key. April 10th is the first day you can submit for the Schedule C business, or if you're a 1099 AFA on this call, the same thing will work for you. Mm-hmm. April 10th is the date. It looks like for those of us who have those type of relationships, they're looking at data for what they expect the pay to be over about a 4.5 month period. There again, it's pro rata, capped at $100,000, but very much the same rules will apply in that situation. So right now, the situation is fluid, but it's pretty straightforward on the application that they have. I think we can answer in the affirmative on anything we need to do to get the money. Some of the kind of hard stops if you're taking money from Medicare or Medicaid, which obviously in our business we're not. Mm-hmm. Here's one thing that I just gleaned from the Ameriprise paperwork that we haven't seen before. Many of us give back to the community. Travis and I are both on many boards of non-for-profits. They also qualify. So this Ameriprise piece was the first one of those that I saw that in writing.
Where nonprofits can actually apply for this as well.
So be a good board member, utilize your kind of social capital that way, and let your philanthropic organizations realize they can get so much money too.
Yeah. Well, I know that when this first was discussed, we were on a meeting last week, and the discussion came up on a mastermind session of, what should we do? And there was a lot of different ideas at that point where it hadn't really been passed and gone into effect. But Drew, just real quickly, let's share with them our thought process on, and even looking at history when stimulus programs were offered, and also just the whole uncertainty. You know, you can talk about what happened to some of your doctors today.
And that's a good point. And we said this. So today we had our radiology group in town. They've all had to take basically 50% pay cuts or be furloughed. So, you know, when you get up Monday morning and you're a doctor in the middle of the worst health crisis in modern times, you think you've got pretty good job security.
Sure.
So, you know, even if you're in a very good situation, anything can happen, and this virus keeps throwing curveballs. So you want to, I would say, have the additional capital at your disposal. You know, in a past life, I had a lot to do with I was chairman of a bank, and I know during the 08-09 crisis, the question was whether or not to take the TARP money. You had to jump through a lot of, you know, hoops and hurdles, et cetera. But I can tell you the companies that took the TARP money were able to do many more things long-term than the companies that didn't. You know, a real kind of tires on the road example is look what happened with GM and Ford. I mean, Ford stuck it out. They've really probably never recovered financially for doing so. GM got the bailout, and they've, you know, you kind of look how they're doing compared to Ford in the long run. But this is not a bailout. It's a government program. They want you to take advantage of it. And what I know in the banking business, people that took TARP money were able to make acquisitions. Money is fungible. So there's no part of this deal that says, hey, we're going to put like a red sticker on every $100 bill we give you, and we've got to make sure that that money goes into people's checking accounts that work for you or your utility payment. It's just going to be more money in the war chest. If you have good books and records and account for things properly, you'll be able to show the authorities when they want to see it that the money was spent the way it should be. But
because you're going to have to do that anyway. Yeah. It's a part of the act.
Yeah, it's going to allow you to keep the war chest full that you've accumulated.
Right, and if you don't spend it on whatever they've allocated this for, it becomes a loan at that point.
Yeah.
So just want to make sure that I'm recommending our recommendation is that our D2 community that you are taking advantage of that for your own business.
And we're telling our business owner clients likewise to take advantage of it. And, you know, this is a good selling point of why they need a financial advisor to have all their books and records in order.
In order, yep. All right. Well, let's go into a little bit about what's going on with the conference calls. I know that you've been having these steadily and readily twice a week for everyone to dial in. And then this week, you actually started doing some niche conference calls on some gas companies that you're working with. So give us an update on both of those.
The general conference calls that we have, we're still driving good attendance. We're averaging about probably 7 prospects per call. And we started our first niche one yesterday. I wasn't sure how it would go because I could tell there was people on, but you know, unlike this call, most people were quiet. So I didn't know until I got the records, but we had 11 on the call.
Okay.
It was a 15-minute, 20-minute call over lunch. 2 of them were prospects. So Zach's in the process of following that up. Now, where that would be with regards to seminars we usually do, we usually drive about 16 people to the seminars.
That you hold at these
for that same company.
Okay.
So if that's any indication, we're doing one tomorrow at 12:30 with another company. You know, I'm thinking we'll probably get north of 20 people on that call, and I've already had a couple people tell me they will be on for sure. So you know, we'll follow up next week with how that's going, and along with that, you know, we've taken our conference call database, and we're going to tie in a little bit something new with that, and we'll kind of cover that, you know, the last bullet point here on what we're doing.
Okay.
With some referral marketing.
All right, so cool. Well, and there again, Zach on your team is basically getting the phone numbers from the conference call line service. He's comparing those phone numbers to what you have in Salesforce that helps identify who was on there. And then if who's not on there, we're assuming at that point they're a prospect and we're reaching out.
Yes, and we do a little what we call the old dollar detective work. So you can, you know, there's services you can pay for that will kind of give you white pages information.
That's right.
On where the number is. So we've put some names with some faces. So that's how we're working that, and we'll kind of continue working our database. We converted a new client this morning. They were very pleased to kind of change firms, and they're again kind of like what Armando's doing. I put them up. It's all going to be done digitally. High contact with phone calls and high contact with digital stuff.
Okay.
She was excited about that.
So a couple things too. Before we get into our next strategies here, you did some gifting.
Yeah.
I know we got a picture here. Let's just pull that up for everybody so they can see that. Tell me a little bit about what you did with this gift here.
Well, we had ordered some books, but Amazon had suspended non-essential shipping. So we had our new marketing guy was a former baseball player. So I said, the book is the closer. What we need now is a middle relief guy.
Mm-hmm.
So our pitching rotation is broken down. So this was our middle relief gift. Travis's wife, Christy from Studio Slant, got us the baskets, the stuffing, the logo. She had a very special assistant that helped her do all this, Lucy Jago. And
my daughter.
Stacy went to the store and picked up the Rayo's pasta sauce and pasta, and then we had at our house a lot of bottles of the Stag's Leap Investor wine, and threw in a handwritten note and hand sanitizer. So 2 of the prospects, this went out yesterday afternoon. I got nice emails from 2 brothers that were on the prospect list. Very, very appreciative and kind of blown away with what they got, and they're definitely top prospects for us. So I'm expecting to hear from others as well. But that was something we put together really over the course of a couple days. During the weekend, I spent the weekend writing kind of the notes for people. Mm-hmm. So the best thing I think is they could actually read my handwriting.
Well, that's why it took you so long. I think Stacy said you had to rewrite several of them.
Yes.
So, but nice personal touch. And so there again, this is how we're living in the virtual world. You have these prospects. We utilize Studio Slant, which is what my wife and I own. She put together the whole package. You've got a small business in your community that can do some gift baskets. They could put something very similar together. And I would encourage that. I mean, you can always go to the Harry and Davids of the world and use them a lot. However, it's not that same personal touch if you can have someone do this like that. But listen, if you don't have someone, I at least encourage you to utilize a service like that, like what you're doing with the prospecting.
Absolutely. The other thing that give you an update, we've kind of gone deeper with some prospect companies that do workplace financial planning. We've got the go-ahead, as the plant manager, I've been in contact with him via email. He wants us to come out. So what we're trying to do, and I think a good strategy is go ahead and try to pencil in some dates. Because, as he said, he doesn't know when we'll be legal to come out and meet with everybody at their plant. But went ahead and we want to pencil in dates. We have the times for sure. We know we're going to be going out to a plant. They run 2 shifts, so we're having 8 to 8:30 time slot, 4:30 to 5 time slot, and do that once we're able to kind of get out and do things in the community. And so we're shooting for early May on that now.
Well, I think that's the key. I know that when I've been on coaching calls this week and people are saying, obviously we had to cancel or postpone events, I would be lining up tentative dates. I would go ahead and have that ready, realizing you may have to move them again. But I think it's really important that once the ban is lifted, or whatever we're calling this, the quarantine, that we are ready to go. And if we have to do planning to get ready to go at that point, I think that slows us down. Plus, who knows when all this breaks, are you going to be in line now? Or, is everybody going to be doing what you're doing? So I think we should be working ahead. I think it's a smart strategy. Talk to us about your next wave of referral marketing. What are we going to be doing there?
Well, we're going to do 2 things. One, we know an area we wanted to get into was federal employees. So Debbie, one of her clients is a postman. They have the thrift savings plan. He's going to have 4 other people. We're just going to do basically a phone call for them, offer them to kind of call in as well. And then really kind of what we're doing is we have the database of who's been on the calls. And so we're going to send an email to them first saying, hey, we know you've been on the calls, and basically a nice ask that says, you appreciate the service you've been getting from us. Who else do you know you'd like to see get this kind of service? Now, Brian and Zach have softened mine up a little bit. I took some shots at, competitors. So we'll have a a
little more polished and positive approach in your ask.
Yes. I have a little bit of the old professional wrestler in me. You like to see people called out on live television. So they're cleaning that up, and that will go out this week. And really, the timing of it, I'd like it sent out after the call tomorrow night.
Right, because you'll probably have 50 or 60 people on that.
Yeah.
That's what you've averaged.
And we'll like to have that in the inbox. So that's kind of the next step with what we're doing there. As I said, we're full speed ahead. We're picking up clients out of this, and I'm encouraging the AFAs here and other advisors to do the same. And they've been very much on board with what we're doing. And I guess I would close is have your AFAs, everybody on your team, think about if there's niches they've wanted to get into, like Armando's talking about, this is the best time ever. I know people are sharing the conference calls that we're doing with their coworkers. This is really a great time to kind of go after that and really get the exposure and ask for the business.
Well, something as simple as you just said you and Debbie are doing. She's got a postal worker. He's helping bring 4 people to a conference call. You're going to talk about their thrift savings plan. That seems pretty easy to do, right? If you're asking for somebody for referrals, you can say, hey, one of the things we can do is I know your benefits. Let's get a handful of people. It doesn't always have to be a big WebEx. It doesn't always have to be a full blown out conference call here, but just something as simple as that.
Exactly right. And what we know on the federal program is they have few choices. And I think, it's kind of one of these deals. What we're seeing is people that are really interested in hearing from us now that are prospects are people that have very few choices in their 401k plan, they feel, and people that have more choices than they can manage. So both ends, kind of the barbell approach is really where we're targeting our marketing.
All right. Thanks, Drew. We're going to turn it over here and bring Scott Livefried in. He's working from his basement. I've seen his video and pictures of the war room. How are you, Scott?
Doing great, Travis. Thanks for having me.
Hey, always glad to have you. For those of you who don't know Scott's a top advisor. I think he finished in the top 100, 110 at Ameriprise. He's got a rather large practice spread out in a couple different locations. Has a large team of advisors and staff members that he leads. And Scott's also one of our D2 coaches. And so, Scott, give me some good news here before we jump in. Any good news you can share with the group here?
Oh, there's all kinds of good news. We're hammering on the phones and doing what needs to be done. The conference calls that we're having where clients are dialing in, all the things that Drew has been talking about, reaching out to prospects, collecting checks here in the last couple of weeks, a lot of inflows from the opportunists that don't need the money for a while, invested in stocks. One thing I'm really proud of is that we have a 17-person team, and it was a week ago Friday, March 20th, all 17 of us have been working remotely from our homes and with just using the technology and the systems and that we have in place. I'd have to say we haven't missed a beat, short of meeting people in person, physically in person. But it's great to have the tools at our disposal, and also it's forcing everybody to use the tools and the systems and the processes. I think before it was too easy to print that form instead of having people do it electronically. And what Armando was saying is right on. We're setting the bar as this is the way we do business. I think there's, I guess for a lack of a better term, there's a good sex appeal to clients when you're with it, and you can operate in this way. So no, a lot of good news there.
Well, good. Well, let's talk about decision making right now. there's a lot of, intensity sometimes in the air with what's going on, people feeling uneasy, a little uncertain. And I know that what you want to talk about is how do we make decisions when the emotions seem to be high?
Yeah, and it's human biology that when we're in a heightened state of emotion, whether it's a positive emotion or a negative emotion, when we're in a heightened state of emotion, our decision-making skills are impaired. It just is. And I think the first thing that we need to do is we just need to recognize that. We need to recognize that if we're in a heightened state of emotion, our capacity to make decisions, good decisions, shrinks and diminishes. And so recognition is step number one, and I think it's self-recognition is first, but then also the recognition with the people that we're communicating with, whether it be clients or our team members or our family, kids, whoever it may be, that it's recognizing this emotional state that we're in and how that is affecting our ability to make good decisions.
Okay, so first we got to recognize it. That's what I'm hearing. Having that self-awareness that the emotions are high.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the questions I think that we can all ask ourselves, and really all the time, is, what would a person who is not in a heightened state of emotion do in this particular situation? And that's a question that we might use in we have to be careful with the situation, but that's the question we might use with when we're communicating with people. But it's more so, I think, that self-talk and that self-questioning. And so that's one of the things that just the recognizing and asking ourselves, what is my emotional state right now, and what's the effect of that on my decision making?
Okay. Good point. Now, talk to me about some things that you can do maybe to lower that emotional state, especially if you're the negative part.
Right, and this is a little tactic that I started maybe a month ago or 3 weeks ago, and it's worked really well. And a lot of people have told me it's worked well for them since they've implemented it. And it's pretty simple. Stop watching the news on TV. I haven't watched TV news for at least 3 weeks, but I read constantly. And so I think the takeaway is read your news, don't watch it on TV. There's a couple things behind this. First off, when we read, our minds slow down. When we slow down our minds, we think more clearly. Also, the written word tends to be more thoughtful, more thought out. And so the sources, a lot of Wall Street Journal sorts of things, Bloomberg, and different sources there. But when we're watching our news on TV, it's the bright lights, it's the streaming banner that's going on at the same time, and also whoever's presenting it, they're imposing their emotional state onto me or onto the viewer. And I've kind of taken a step back and said, you know what? I refuse to let somebody impose their emotional state onto me, especially if it's negative and scary and dramatic and everything. So that I found just to be a great tool and tactic to just, help regulate my emotional state as we're going through these times.
Well, I couldn't agree more, Scott. My wife and I last night were talking about, because everything has really translated to social media, watching TV, videos, how there's been times we felt a little stressed because we were a little overstimulated from all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like what you're saying there, doing a little more reading and a little less viewing as far as, all the things that try to grab our attention. And like you said, part of what, especially on TV, they're wanting to exude and place their emotion on you. That's how they draw you in. That's media 101 right there. When you write a good script, tell a good story, there's got to be that emotional hook, and they're going to use the negativity more than anything. No one's talking about recovery, right?
Yeah.
You talked about that last time. Or are we just talking about crisis, 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 crisis?
It's living by the soundbite.
Yes, absolutely. So that's great tips. So talk some other things around communication and how you've been able to scale the outreach you've been doing with clients.
Yeah, one of the things with a lot of our practices, I know the people that are on the call here, we have a lot of clients. There's a lot of them, and our very best clients, I'm sure everybody's been on the phone with them and reaching out. One big challenge is scaling this. And, if I think about it, if I'm on the phone and making calls with a client, even if the call lasts, say, 15 minutes, there's a couple minutes of lead time to prepare, and then there's the follow-up if you have to do, notes and things like that. And so I figure every phone call with a client is about a half hour. It's a half hour per call. And so, to add it up from morning till night, gosh, 20, 30 calls, that's a really big day with going through clients by calling them. So one of the things that we implemented is the text messaging, the new text messaging service that Ameriprise has, because I'm not a fan of my clients having my cell phone text message, and it's through Hearsay, through Ameriprise. But what I've done is we've taken our CRM folks and we uploaded into the Hearsay thing, and I just had an intern do all this, and then the intern is inviting, because you have to invite the clients to business texting. And what we'll do is we'll send them an email ahead of time, and we've been kind of promoting this. When you're invited to business texting, please say yes, because they have to opt into this. But then once they opt into it, then we're on. But the intern's getting it all set up, and I have it on my screen right now. I mean, there's a couple conversations going on right now, and a lot of it's the pleasantries. Hey, just thinking about you. Text me anytime. Thanks for the update. Thanks for the outreach. That sort of thing. And the intern's running all this. And then if things get a little bit more detailed, well, then I just jump in and start the text conversation back and forth with the clients. So, I mean, it's been an awesome way to run several conversations at the same time. But then also what we're doing is we're inserting a link to the message of our past conference calls and saying, hey, listen to this conference call. And by the way, make sure you send this out to the people that that might be a little, nervous about the markets right now. Have them listen to this call. And it's just, we just blast it out and blow it up when it comes to the communication around this.
That's awesome, Scott. So yeah, the law of multiplication's taken over, which is called scale, right? So you can touch more people, get more exposure, get them on the conference calls, get them sharing the conference calls. So I think that's excellent. And what you're saying is an intern basically set all this up. You gave some direction, they got it up and running, and then when the conversations get too detailed or they can't respond because not their place, that's when you insert yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a great way to take people's temperature. You know, if we're thinking about, I wonder how that person's doing and everything. It's just a way to, based on their response, you can take their temperature and see how they're doing based on text message responses. And so then we can kind of prioritize, all right, well, we need to have a call with that person. And so then I'll text back, hey, I'm going to have Megan reach out, and we'll schedule a 15-minute call to talk about things a little bit more. And so then she's lining up the day with scheduled calls, and it's just more intentional and still super responsive because it's immediate.
Perfect. And Scott, just real briefly, can you tell everybody what to look up on Compass to get to this?
Yeah, you go to, on the tools it says advisor texting, which is right under.
Okay.
It's real
pretty simple then. Go to tools,
yeah.
Advisor.
Yeah, and it's
Perfect.
on Go Social through the Hearsay site. I mean, it's easy to get set up. You can get set up on it overnight.
Perfect. Well, Scott, those are some great insights, getting some scale with your communications, really talking about ways to slow down the processing of the overstimulation that's going on. Really appreciate you sharing. So thank you, and thumbs up to what you guys are doing with your practice and the advisors you're leading. All right, I've got John Randall here. John, let's put your pretty face up here on the screen so everybody can see you. There we go.
So guys, yeah, I've been hearing from a lot of you, I would say Friday, Monday, today, the weight of all this is starting to weigh on you, especially those that are at home, working from home. You got family at home, you got kids at home. There's no escape. There's lots of extra work. Reach out to clients, reach out to prospects, and it just never ends. And so if you are approaching this point or you foresee approaching this point, it's really important that we work on avoiding burnout. If you've hit burnout, thankfully it's reversible. If you're heading on that path, we got to get off of that path really quick. So for the physical going to the office and leaving and coming home, there's just a subconscious routine that's built in that you go into work mode and you come out of work mode, whether you realize you're doing it or not. And the danger of working from home is there is no separation. And I think what happens to a lot of us when the work is always there, especially those of us that struggle with unplugging, which I'm one of, it's constant, and we struggle to get away from it. So you
John, but you're a workaholic, right? A workaholic, not a workaholic. You love work, and that's a lot of us on this call, right?
Yes. But to maintain our performance, we might need a new balance. So I tell you what, I have been sharpening my saw for years, just like I sharpen my chef knife before every use. And I have gone back to a book that I got 20 years ago. It was recommended when I started as an advisor in New York, and it's tied in perfectly with all this work I'm doing on my doctorate degree in performance psychology. And it was a book called The Power of Full Engagement, and it really researched when are humans at their best. And they actually dug into professional tennis players. And look, the same people are always at the top in the field of professional tennis, year after year after year. And they investigated, why are those people so much better than all the others? And their research outcome was that there really wasn't much of a physical difference in skill or anything like that. The one difference for all the people at the top is after the intensity of being in a point, they were able to come down in between and recharge. They were able to lower their heart rate, slow their breathing rate. What Scott was talking about to slow the mind, they were able to do that in between points, and they would just outlast their opponents. And I started to pay attention to tennis matches, and there's a lot of them, the best players, they might lose the first set. They might have really close couple of sets, and then they just dominate, and they take out the other player because the other player's on the whole time, and they're not coming down, and they're not recharging, and eventually they burn out. So let's apply this to your business day. If you're running a marathon for 14 hours every day and all weekend, you don't take a break, you're going to crash and you're going to get beat. So program in some breaks, just like these pro tennis players did. Program in when you can get out of the intensity, unplug for even just a small moment. I've been working with my wife, Kathleen, at home here as principal of our boys' school, and she's just like me. She's really intense about her work. But we've been holding each other accountable to doing certain things, and we have a small break in the morning. We take a walk around the house, get some fresh air. We do it again in the afternoon. We stop each other and force each other to eat lunch. Now, it's only like 10 minutes long, but we stop, we connect, we eat, and those little breaks have made a big difference this week that we've applied them, whereas, previous weeks we were just running. So find little breaks in your day just to recharge, to refresh. I also think a defined start time and a defined end time is important. So you have time, you shut down the technology, you get away from it, you hang out with your spouse, your children, you become somebody different for a while. Really important when all the work is right there and accessible. And I think when you hit weekends, you got to find a way to just totally unplug and get out. The other thing that can help is redirection. The best cure for burnout ever. And redirection is just doing something different. That's not your normal routine. It's not work. It's engulfing yourself in something. So I talked to an advisor that cleaned out their garage over the weekend, and they said, I felt so great. I wasn't thinking about work. I did this project. I need things like that. Now, there's only so many garage and clean out the closet projects at home here. But find some new things to do to occupy your mind. Drew recommended Tiger King on Netflix. That's fun. Maybe a card games or games with family, like Travis mentioned his family's doing. Find things to occupy your mind that's not work. Be purposeful about getting out, because that will recharge you, and you'll be able to be more intense when you're in, and you'll be able to get much better performance. The one last thing I'll say is, you know what, we're all in this together, everyone. Leverage the D2 community, which is one of the most, I think, things that we're proud of. Leverage each other. The very first coach ever spawned from the very first sports psychologist in the 1800s, when bicycling became a thing, and this person was really interested in the bicycling, and he noticed one thing. People that ride in groups ride faster than those who ride alone. And it spawned, what's going on up here that would be different? So leverage the group. If you need a workout partner or workout partners to check in with, are you running hard, connecting with clients? Are you unplugging? Find someone to connect with in the community, or all of us in the community. It's really important. These webinars have been great to connect with you, but leverage the group even from afar, man. We're all right here. We can all easily get on a happy hour sometime and connect with you guys. So just keep that in mind. We will run faster as a group, so leverage that. None of us are in this alone. So thanks for having me on. I'm going to keep sharpening my saw here.
John, thank you. Great insights. Great insights. Thank you. I really like what you're talking about, especially leveraging, obviously you gave some individual techniques you can use, but leveraging us as a group. I know that I've had a lot of fun through this crisis, and I've just noticed that it seems like I'm more connected to people, even though I see basically the same people in the office every day, because there's only a handful of us here, and I'm only seeing basically my family at home, but yet with all the reach outs, what we're doing on video, I'm in so many group chats now, on texting. I just feel more connected. And that's very, someone who enjoys meaningful work and relationships, that's very important. So thank you, John. That's some great advice. So what we'll do now is, if you have a question, go ahead and speak up. Because I think we still have everybody here, and I think Scott's still on the line. John, you're still there. Drew and I are here. So you may have any questions on what we covered today. I noticed I've got a couple emails that people having questions on things, so that's good too. You can also feel free to send us an email.
Send them a text, and our intern will get back with you.
Right, yeah. Or talk to, if you got something for Scott, you may have to give out your intern's contact information so we can get through you on the group text there. Perfect.
How is it? How do you get a question here?
Go for it, Mark.
Let me turn you off a speaker. Well, I don't know how to do that, but you know, as you guys were talking, I was reading through what Drew mentioned with the email that Ameriprise sent out, and there's some really good stuff in there. My wheels are cranking as far as strategies with clients. So I think it's more of a comment than a question, but we can make more difference than in an average year this year, just even from a financial planning standpoint, let alone, you know, straight up investments.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that's what, you know, I agree wholeheartedly. That's what we were talking about earlier, helping your small businesses, your nonprofits that you're a part of, you know, become an expert in this as much as possible. And we all know it's fluid, meaning that, you know, a lot of this hasn't still been determined, but staying up on this, reading it, making the outbound calls to help people, you know, through the process. I think you're absolutely right, Mark. I think we got a great opportunity to be a conduit here on planning strategies like this.
A very good point.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I love this quote here. Ben found it. He said, you know, I found this quote. I think this really is pertinent. I couldn't agree more. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests. And, you know, just like what Mark just said and we talked about, right now, we have a chance to, I think, get a lot of glory here. I'm not saying to do it for the glory, but just tying that into the quote as it relates to the difficulties that are going on. So I just want to continue to encourage everyone out there to be positive through this. Everyone has eyes on you right now. You know, when I go home, you know, it's, you know, they're going to see, is Daddy in a good mood? You know, what's going on with Daddy? Is, you know, they may not say that, but they're going to sense it no matter what I give off. So it's important that I, you know, kind of flush what's happened today, at least so I can be in the moment there. So do that for your people at home so you can be there for them and do those redirections with them so that I'm sure they're eager to see you if you've been working all day and they've probably been stuck in the house or maybe they got outside because the weather is nice. So be that beacon of light. Continue to employ, you know, the strategies we've been talking about through 5 webinars now, I guess, or 4. And we're going to continue to hold this until we don't think it's necessary. Utilize us. We're here for you. I mean, we're taking the same approach as coaches and consultants that if you need something, we want to be, you know, that hand holder, that idea generator, that wall to bounce something off of. If you got a problem, you know, help you brainstorm on it and so forth. Because I know that there's a lot of new things going on as a result of this, which is really cool, I think, is the way we're adapting to this situation. So utilize us. If you need anything or have any questions, feel free to, you know, shoot us an email, shoot us a text. Most of you have our cell numbers, and we'll be there for you. So, Drew, any closing comments?
You know, just like, you know, I'd probably ask you the same thing I ask clients. If you've been happy with the service you've gotten from Dynamic Directions and us during this time, share it with the people, your colleagues you care the most about, because I'm sure probably they may not be getting this everywhere where they could get a really good, you know, financial coach.
Right, and support system as well.
Yeah.
So thank you, Drew. I was supposed to ask for referrals, but you did a great job there. I think you've been doing it a lot more than I have here with your clients. So with that said, I also want to thank my Dynamic Directions team. They've done a fantastic job of adapting to the new way of doing business, and you know they get us set up for these things. They're coordinating, you know, a lot more of our virtual stuff for us. So I just want to give a shout out to my D2 team for all that they're doing as well. So may the peace be with you. Go out there and be the calm in the storm for everyone. Let's continue to focus on being what people need us to be right now, which is proactive, positive leaders. Good night.